All right, decoders, welcome back. Good evening to you all out there. And let's get this thing going. Got a live stream for you. And to those of you that are in the chat, please give me a thumbs up if the stream is coming through clearly. You guys know the drill, right? Give me those thumbs up. But yeah, and we're gonna have another good decode for you today. Hello, Coffee Girl. Hello, Juan Francis. Hello, another War Machine. Hello, Zenith of the Alpha. How you doing, brother? Nice to see you in here. Yeah, so I just wanted to highlight this pretty good comment by Calgary Freedom Central to start off the stream. He says the last state still counting the votes is Arizona, which is A and Z, right? Alpha, Omega. Now, also, we had monkeys escape from Alpha Genesis laboratory the same day Trump won. So I'm going to show you guys how this riddle right now is no doubt to do with the Alpha and the Omega symbolism, okay? And yeah, so I mean, again, we had the monkeys on the same day Trump was selected, right? The monkeys escaped from Alpha Genesis. And Alpha and Genesis both mean beginning, right? Genesis also means beginning. And then Arizona is the last state to finish counting. And the state Arizona has the A to start the word and the Z to end. So how perfect. And that's a great observation by Calgary Freedom Central. Just a great observation to start the decode. And once again, thank you guys for being you guys are so smart, you know. Most of you guys are smarter than I am. That's why you guys give the best clues, you know. So yeah, thank you, Calgary Freedom Central, and thank you to everyone in the chat. Thank you, Scott Simmons and JJ Recon and XX and Diane Kelly and Mitchell Wittig. Thank you all. Rudy Tutti, hello. Let's give another minute and then we'll get ready to jump into this. So how are you guys doing today? Everyone having a good day out there? Joel Field says, I made it. Yes, you did. You did make it. I'm glad you made it. Thank you to all 67. Thank you to all 67 of the people who did make it to the stream so far. And guys, please hit those like buttons. Don't forget to hit those like buttons. If you guys want to support the channel, hitting the like button is the best way to do so. Another thing, if you want to support the channel any other ways, you know, I have my Buy Me a Coffee link at the top as usual. If you guys it's on your heart to donate or anything, I could always use the help. But yeah, hitting the like button is the easiest way to support the channel, and I really do appreciate that. So thank you. KJ Malone is in the chat. He's a beast of a decoder, and he says dollar crash equals 1912. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, dollar crash, you know, eventually it could be likely, you know. Arizona added in 1912. Okay, I see. The Phoenix from the ashes. Phoenix is obviously in Arizona. So yeah, that's crazy. I mean, that's a good connection. All right, 73 so far in the chat. Trying to see if a little bit more people will join in here. But yeah, we'll go ahead and get started. Yeah, A to Z, Alpha, Omega, A to Z, beginning and the end, the first and the last, the Father and the Son, all connected. All right, so you guys know that in my last decode, right, which most of you guys have seen. In fact, you guys really blew that video up. I got like almost 3,000 views and almost 420 likes. So thank you guys for watching that video. But my last video was all about how there's been lots of symbolism for Trump being the last president. Okay. Now, regardless of whether Trump does end up being the last president or not, the symbolism around Trump is that he is the last president. Okay. So, with that in mind, I began looking into the idea of the last president and the first president. So we have to compare the first and the last, okay? And I started finding a lot of things that are quite interesting in regards to the Alpha president and the Omega president, Trump. Again, who knows if he will actually be the last president, but we have had lots of symbolism pointing to that. And as I showed you guys in my last video, with this slide, this is just a recap of my last video I posted. Remember, I posted how Trump won the election and became the second split-term president after Grover Cleveland, who won the presidency the same way. And that was the same year that Trump's Bavarian grandfather became a U.S. citizen and voted in the election, okay? So what a crazy, you guys have seen the video. What a crazy connection I found here. But remember, this points to the next year after Trump's grandfather becomes a U.S. citizen, the book called Barron Trump's Adventures releases. And then 4 years after the election, The Last President releases. Okay. So you have this connection with the Trump and the last president. Okay. So if you guys want to know more about this info right here, please go back and watch the video I posted. That's where you're going to find the overview of all of this. But remember, I told you guys that this was all connected to the number 1128, because the number 1128 is the 47th triangular number, which means when you add the numbers 1 through 47 all together, you get 1128. And Elon Musk, after Trump won, he posted Novus Ordo Seclorum, which means New Order of the Ages, and that equals 1128. And again, that's this 47th triangular number, and Trump equals 47, president, White House, government, authority, Republican, Democrat, foundation, all 47. So this is just an overview, okay? But we're going to get into, I just wanted to lay the foundation. Funny that foundation equals 47. I wanted to lay the foundation for why I'm comparing Trump to the Omega president, the last president, right? Because he has connections to the last president. Now, so then we have to start looking into the connection between the first president and the supposed last president, Trump, okay? And the first thing to point out here is that from the day that George Washington died, okay, to the day that Trump was elected the 47th president was exactly 224 years and exactly 47 weeks. So think about that, guys. Trump was officially elected exactly 47 weeks after the 224th anniversary of George Washington's death. Why is that important? Because we are in the year 2024, 224, and we elected the 47th president. So how perfect this election lined up with George Washington's death, okay? It's not a coincidence. Trump was elected the 47th president exactly 47 weeks after George Washington's death, okay? And yeah, somebody in the chat saying 1128 is the 333rd day of the year with 33 days remaining. Exactly, yeah, it is. Quite interesting, isn't it? But yeah, I think it's pretty crazy, you know, like Trump elected 47 weeks exactly after George Washington died. And why is the 47 so important, guys? Well, the 47 is the huge number with government, president, White House, authority, foundation. Okay? Trump equals 47. He was elected the 47th president. President equals 47. Okay? That's why the 47th president is so important, because it equals 47. Now, Republican, which Trump is a Republican, that equals 47. He's going to be part of the authority of the United States. That equals 47. He's going to be in the White House, which equals 47. And he's obviously part of the government, which equals 47. Now, the foundation of the United States was based off of George Washington, the founding fathers. Keep in mind the word fathers. And big shout out to my friend Sean over at Widow's Son, who continues to do an amazing job with the father and son riddle that continues to go on in this reality. And he connects it to his own life. So if you guys don't know Widow's Son, let me put his channel in the chat just so you guys can go watch his videos. But he's showing crazy connections between him and his father and this riddle. So I put his channel name in the chat. But anyways, think about coming full circle, guys. The compass, the Freemasonic compass. Well, the compass is used to draw a circle. And many times the compass is set at 47 degrees. Sometimes it's set at 46 and 48, but oftentimes it's set at 47 degrees. So the circle represents completion, coming full circle. The last president, the 47th president, is coming full circle, okay? And my girlfriend's in the chat, Recipes with Maria. Love you, and thank you for stopping in, babe. I love you. But anyways, we're coming full circle with the 47th president. And the Masons, and think about the G, right? George Washington. G, right? George starts with the G. George Washington, a Freemason, of course. He was part of the foundation of the United States. Foundation equals 47. The Freemason compass is set at 47 degrees. We're also going to talk about the 47th problem of Euclid, which is an obvious connection to make. But notice that the phrase alpha omega equals 47 in the same cipher as father son. Now, the way I'm doing this here is George Washington is the father of America, and Donald Trump is the son. So in other words, George Washington is the alpha, and Trump is the omega. And George Washington is Saturn, who is the father of Trump, who is Jupiter. Okay, so there's a lot of different distinctions. There's a lot of different distinctions that we can make here. We can say Father, Son, Alpha, Omega, Saturn, Jupiter, God, Jesus, God the Father, and Jesus the Son. All right. But it's not a coincidence that Alpha Omega equals 47 in the same cipher as Father and Son. Yeah, George. George is like geometry. Perfect. Thank you, Zenith. George starts with geo, like geometry. Okay, that's what this is. But anyways, 47 and 47, all the 47s, right? You guys know this number. Now, again, I showed you that Father, Son equals 47, Alpha, Omega equals 47, okay? Now, in the Bible, Jesus and the Father are connected to the Alpha, the Father, and the Son, Omega. They make up one Trinity with the Holy Spirit, right? But in the scripture, it says, I am the Alpha and the Omega. Okay, so we're gonna cover this a little bit later in the decode, but I just want to set the stage for you guys of the Alpha and the Omega, okay? And again, this is Jesus in the Bible connects the Alpha to his Father. So you got the Father, Son, and the Alpha, Omega, okay? It goes perfect. That's why I believe that equals the same in the same cipher, 47. Now, big shout out to Donut, another YouTube channel, Donut Factory on YouTube. He has mentioned this before on his channel, but we need to make this distinction. I have 147 in the chat. I'm getting ready to do a whole decode about the number 147. So how crazy is that? Always happens to me. Every number I'm going to talk about, it's always in the chat. So anyways, 147 in the chat. Wait till you see what my whole decode is about. Anyways, notice that George Washington is sitting on the dollar bill, and he's sitting inside of the shape of the omega. Do you guys see it? Raise your hand in the chat if you guys see George Washington in the shape of the omega. Okay, this is Donut's fine, not mine, but this is a perfect thing to point out, okay? And Trump, his Mar-a-Lago is in the shape of the omega. You see? So George Washington is literally sitting in the omega, okay? Trump's Mar-a-Lago is literally the shape of the omega, okay? Trump has the A in the middle of his Mar-a-Lago. The A represents the alpha, okay? So here you go again. You have the alpha, you have the omega. This is on the $1 bill. That's because the Father and the Son are one. The alpha and the omega are complete. They make up the one, okay? The first and the last, the beginning and the end. It makes up the unity of the Father and the Son, okay? So that's why George Washington is the alpha sitting within the omega, okay? It makes perfect sense. You could say that the omega is the matrix or the womb, too. And there's other ways you could compare it, but mainly here it's the ending. The beginning is the end, okay? Literally right on the front of the dollar bill. And yeah, please hit the like buttons, guys. If you haven't already hit the like button, please do so, right? And don't forget, guys, the omega letter in the Greek alphabet is the 24th letter. And why is all this going down in the year 24? Okay. The omega president is elected in the year 2024. Okay. And I showed you that not only was the omega president elected in the year 2024, he was elected 24 years and 47 weeks after the first president died. Okay. So how perfect. Now, this is the slide to pay attention to, guys. This is the craziest, okay? So if you do a measurement from the first day, the inauguration of George Washington as the first president of the United States, to the election, the officially election of Donald Trump as the 47th president, it's exactly 12,289 weeks on the nose. Exactly from the first president inauguration to the 47th being selected, and you get this number, 12,289. Guys, 12,289 is the 1470th prime number. That represents the 1, 4, 7, and the O, omega. Do you guys understand this? The 1, the 47, and the O. I just laid out to you guys this stuff without the numbers. I laid out that George Washington is connected to Trump, the omega president. Washington, the alpha. If you measure from the alpha becoming president to the selection of the omega, it's 1470 prime weeks exactly. In gematria, George Washington equals 1470. From the day he was selected president to Trump's his inauguration to Trump's selection is 1470 prime weeks. Do you guys understand how big that is? Wow. Not to mention, this number represents their presidencies. He was the first president. He was the 47th president. And this 147 is a huge number with the presidency. President of the United States, 147. Freemason, 147. U.S. President, 147. Master Builder, 147. There's 147 windows on the White House. Okay? And in between the inauguration of number 1 to the selection of 47 is the 1470 prime, and George Washington even equals 1470. Like, look, there's his gematria, 1470. I mean, this should be blowing your guys' mind. This should show you that this is a scripted, perfect matrix. This is, I mean, just perfect. Like from in every angle. Does 888 equal 147? Wow, that's crazy. I'm not even done yet. Wait till I show you how important this 1470 is. Again, guys, you guys got to understand what this number represents. It's the first president, the 47th president, and the omega, which is the ending. The O represents the omega. I just connected this to the omega. One, first president, 47, omega. It's telling you the story. He was elected 47, though, Captain Flatastic. And technically, Kamala Harris was not the 47th president. They'll never list her as the 47th president because technically she wasn't. She just took over for a short period of time. They won't list her as that. Trump will always be listed as the 47th president. But this proves it here. You can't tell me that this measurement right here doesn't prove this connection. This was meant to happen. This was always meant to be. And why is this 1470 so important, guys? Not only does George Washington equal 1470, let me show you how this 1470 is connected to George Washington. Look at this. Not only does George Washington equal 1470, but Washington Monument equals 1470. Okay? And the day he was supposedly born, the original birthday of George Washington is February 11th, which also equals 1470. I mean, wow. And do you guys know what February 11th is? It's 211. 211 is the 47th prime. So again, this number is coded into George Washington, and Trump was elected 1470 prime weeks after Washington was inaugurated. I mean, this is a big number for Washington, you know? Like, look. And again, I told you it represents, you know, I know he's not certified, guys, but the point here is that I'm going to the selection of the 47th president. That cannot be disputed. He was selected as the 47th president on this day. I made the measurement. That's the ritual. Now, if Kamala gets in, then she becomes the omega, okay? But she has to be listed. But Trump, there's two 47s, guys. Two into one. The female and the male have to come together and be one, okay? That's this whole point of this. Is it's all about bringing things into unity, all right? So, yeah, that's what I said. I have that right here. President of the United States equals 147, U.S. President 147, Master Builder Freemason. There's 147 windows on the White House. Trump was selected the 47th president. That's the most important thing here. Yeah, please hit those like buttons, guys. Let's get up to 100 likes. I mean, this should be blowing your mind, guys. Like, I'm just going to add more proof to this as we go through, but this is the thing here. You know, KJ Malone is saying Gerald Ford was born on 14/7. Yeah, that's a good point too. But again, guys, this goes back to masonry. Why is this 147 so important? Why is there 147 windows on the White House? Because windows are squares or rectangles, right? Well, the 47th problem of Euclid is all about squaring the square, okay? The 47th problem of Euclid, which is connected to the 47th president, right? And don't forget, Freemason equals 147, Master Builder equals 147, U.S. President 147, okay? Now, if you type out the 47th problem of Euclid, it equals 147. In fact, if you type it out in words, the 47th president of Euclid, it equals 147, okay? So no matter how you type it, you get that 147. And that's because it's a Freemason, and Freemason equals 147. And again, The number 147 is 47 to the power 1. This represents George Washington as the first president and the last president, 47, okay? So anyways, and remember, I started out this decode by telling you, that between Washington and Trump is the 1470th prime weeks, okay? It's exactly 12,289 weeks, and that's the 1470 prime, okay? All right, so the 47 problem of Euclid equals 147 if you type it out in words, or if you type it in with the 47, the number. And look at this, guys. If you type the number 147 out in Gematria, it equals President of the United States in the same cipher, 114, and President of the United States equals 147 in the other cipher. Okay, you guys see how this is perfect language gematria. This is geometry in language. That's what gematria is. Because when you type out the word 147, it equals President of the United States, and President of the United States equals 147. Just like the 47th problem of Euclid, okay? And again, that goes back to this. So remember, I told you between George Washington's inauguration to Trump's selection, it was 1470 prime weeks, 1470, right? Well, this goes back to the father of geometry, Euclid. Euclid is known as the father of geometry, just like George Washington is known as the father of the country, the United States. Okay, so here's your father symbolism again. Father of geometry equals 1470. Guys, think about this. Pythagoras theorem, which is another name for it, Pythagoras theorem equals 1470. Father of geometry, which is Euclid, who created the Pythagoras theorem, he equals 1470, and George Washington equals 1470. Oh, wow. Zenith of the Alpha says if you go back 47 years before Washington was elected, it's 1742. That's the 1470th composite number. Wow. I mean, that just adds more to it. Guys, make sure you read Zenith of the Alpha America's comment in the chat. More connections with the 1470. Okay? So not only does Pythagoras theorem equal George Washington, not only does father of geometry equal George Washington, but in the base 4 ciphers of gematria, the word Pythagoras equals Washington. So if that doesn't prove to you that this is all about geometry, Washington literally is a perfect match to Pythagoras. Like what? And then if you take it over to the 1470, which is the amount of weeks, again, let me reiterate this for people who are missing this, 1470 prime weeks between the inauguration of Washington and the selection of Trump. 1470, okay? George Washington equals 1470, and this is perfect geometry, okay? This is geometry in numbers and language. That's what this is. And again, Pythagoras theorem equals 1470 like George Washington. I mean, it's just mind-blowing. Please hit those like buttons, guys. I don't see... This should almost be as good as my last decode. Like this, to me, this is on par with my last decode. So please hit those likes. I appreciate that. It's just crazy. Now, if that wasn't enough, guys, let me show you how perfect this all really is with George Washington and Donald Trump. Okay? George Washington died on December 14th, 1799. Donald Trump was born on June 14, 1946. That means Donald Trump was born 146 years, 182 days after Washington died. 146 years, guys. Okay, well, Trump was born on 14/6. He was born in the year 1946, which is 1946, 146. George Washington was on June 14th, Trump's birthday. Okay, what's the chance of that? On Trump's birthday, which is also Flag Day, June 14th is the United States Flag Day. George Washington, Congress was created, and the Continental Army and John Adams nominated Washington as the first commander-in-chief on Trump's birthday. Do you guys understand now? Do you guys understand? I mean, I know you guys understand, but I'm just saying, like, that's why George Washington is in the Omega. The Alpha is in the Omega. Trump is in the Omega. Mar-a-Lago looks like a Omega, right? And again, George Washington was the first commander-in-chief nominated for the first commander-in-chief on Trump's birthday. Right? Like, wow. And Trump's birthday is 146. Trump was born 146 years after Washington died. And Trump was born on 146 in the year 1946, which is 146. But when you're in your 146 year, it means when you finish 146 years, you're in your 147th year. Do you guys understand this? This goes back to the 147. 146 years becomes the 147th year. As soon as, as soon as Trump turned 147 years, that was the end of the 147th year. So this 146 turns into the 147. And this is where we get right back to the 147s, okay? That's how we get back to this. So this slide right here, this is how the 146 years, after you complete 146 years, you're in your 147th. And that's the number that connects all of this, okay? And why do you think there's 147 rooms on the White House, or windows on the White House, okay? So anyways, let's keep going. And in the rule of Colel, I don't know if you guys know about this, but this is a Freemasonic rule. In the language of Gematria, the Kabbalistic rule of Colel states that one digit can be added to or subtracted from the Gematria value of a word without affecting its value. This seems to be a cheat. However, the Kabbalists explained this rule by pointing out that for them, 1 was not a number. The monad symbolizes divinity and could come and go as he pleased, adding nothing and taking nothing away. Hence, this rule means you can add or subtract a digit from any number. In this case, when you see a 146, you can add a 1 and you get a 147, because a 1 can come and go as he pleases. This is why George Washington is on the $1 bill, right? This is why George Washington is on the $1 bill, and he's the first president, and he's in the Omega. He can come and go as he chooses. The 1 and the 47, okay? 147. Who's the host? Auditron says, does the host believe he's the last president? All I know is you have to watch the beginning of this, and you have to watch my video from yesterday of why there was a book published by the same author that wrote the Barron Trump novels, also posted The Last President. Regardless of whether Trump is the last president or not, Trump has the symbolism of the last president. I don't know if he will be the last president, but he may be the last president before we have a major change in this country. Maybe he's the president that causes a civil war and everything changes, you know? I don't know exactly how that's going to play out. I do not know. Okay? But let's look at another number now. Let's move from the 147. Let's move to the 187, okay? Because this number is super important. And this slide should show you why. If there's ever any slide you guys want to share with your beginner Gematria people to get them, people who are new to Gematria, who don't yet believe in Gematria, this slide is the slide to share. So think about this, guys. If they're not using Gematria, or if this reality is not coded in Gematria, then I don't know what you're seeing here, okay? First of all, George Washington in just the basic English cipher equals 187. His original birthday is February 11th, which equals 187 in the same cipher as George Washington. His death date is December 14th, which equals 187 in the same cipher. So George Washington's birth date and his death date spelled out literally equals his name. And to top that all off, the height in meters, yeah, his original birthday is February 11th. That's why I wrote that here. February 11th equals 187. Like his death date equals 187 in his name. But look, what's the height they give? What's the height that they give for George Washington? 187? What? Of all the heights they could list, of all heights that he could be, he just happens to be 187. Okay. And both his birthday and his death day equal 187 like his name. So this should explain to you Washington, D.C. equals 187. Okay? So George Washington, 187. Washington, D.C., 187. George Washington is 1.87 meters. And his birth date and death date written out equals 187. I mean, so that's the importance of this number. Okay? And look at this, guys. A while back, I brought in this verse in the Bible in Revelation. Remember what he probably is made up. Rebecca Moore says is he even real? I don't know. He probably is made up. Just knowing that his height is 187, it probably made up, okay? He probably wasn't 187 meters high. Okay? But look at this. In the beginning of this decode, I brought in the Bible verse, I am the Alpha and the Omega. And look what it freaking equals in gematria. It equals 187 like George Washington, like Washington, D.C. And if you type the words 1 to 47, which is what George Washington is, the first 1 to the 47, right? It equals 187. Just like Washington and Trump, their two last names, the first president and the 47th president, you combine their last two names, it equals 187. Like Washington, D.C., like George Washington, like I am the Alpha and the Omega. Like, wow. And again, I told you that this represents the first and the last, okay? The Father and the Son. I mean, what is the chances that when you type in their last names, Washington and Trump, it equals 187, like I am the Alpha and the Omega. And it equals George Washington even. Like, it's undeniable. Now, the 187 is the 144th composite number. So this is where we're going to go from 187. We're going to talk about 144. Okay? Because this is another huge number. Okay? Again, I told you guys, Washington was nominated as the first commander-in-chief on Trump's birthday. Okay? Except for that was many years before Trump was born, but it was on Trump's birthday. And look at this, guys. From the day that George Washington was selected or was nominated to be the first commander-in-chief on Trump's birthday to the day Trump was selected, had the election for his presidency, was 249 years, 144 days. 144 days. So that means Trump was elected, or he had his election 144 days after his birthday. And that's 144 days after the anniversary of George Washington being nominated as the first commander-in-chief. Okay. And this 144 also represents the United States of America. Now, what do you get when you type in George Washington to Donald Trump, the first president to the 47th president. It equals 144 in two of the base ciphers. And it equals 144 in the same cipher as the United States of America. Okay? So that's pretty crazy. Again, remember, this goes back to the 187 because 187 is the 144th composite. And I already showed you all the 187s. Okay? And let's not forget, guys, the 187 was connected with, remember, from the release of BART to the Future to the day Trump was selected. Okay, let me show you this. Hold on. You guys need to see this. Let me show you how the 187 played in. You guys remember the Simpsons episode, BART to the Future, right? With Kamala Harris, or the Lisa Simpson as the president saying we just inherited a huge budget crunch from Trump. But anyway, if you go from the release of The Simpsons BART to the Future to the day Trump was officially selected, look at this. BART to the Future to Trump's election, the 117th prime, and what's the 1117th prime? The 187, guys. Again, this is the amount of days from Simpsons BART to the Future to Trump's election. It breaks down to the 187 again. Okay, 8999 is the 1117th prime, and 1117th is the 187th prime. So that's that connection with that and the 187. But let's see. All right, so let's just, these next couple slides are a bit experimental, but we're going to see how it kind of comes together here. In the Bible, the 144 is represented by the completed amount of servants of God being saved, being sealed. So we're talking about the seal, right? But look at this. The 144,000 is symbolic of a completion because it represents the 144,000 that are sealed or complete. Rebecca Moore, 1117, the number is the 187th prime number. That's what the 1117 is. Of course, we have the date 1117 coming up also on the calendar. But yeah, so this also represents completion, right? The 144. In gematria, the word time equals 144. Okay. But look at this. So I was experimenting. I'm like, okay, what can I find here? If Trump is the last, if you type in Washington and Trump, it equals 218, 74, 187. If you type in 1 to 47, which is what they are, it equals exactly the same as their last two names. Again, guys, this is experimental, but quite interesting. Like, wow, I mean, again, Trump was elected 47 and Washington was 1, right? So 1 to 47 equals Washington and Trump in 3 out of 4 ciphers. So I don't know, make of that what you will, but I think that's pretty interesting. Not only that, if you type in first president to last president, as in the encompassing, it equals 136 and 404. Well, that's the gematria of George Washington and Donald Trump in the same ciphers. Okay, so take this, what I just showed you, Washington Trump equals 1 to 47 in 3 out of 4 ciphers, and George Washington and Donald Trump equals first president to last president. And it has that 404. You see? You see that 404 right there? Well, that's the amount of verses in Revelation. That's the completion of the verses in Revelation. If you guys haven't seen my decode that I did connecting with Lambda 115 and how 1188 letters into the book of Revelation is the word trumpet, and 1188 letters back is the same amount of words, guys, I'm just saying, this is interesting. But again, this you guys have to go back and watch the video I did 2 videos ago about Lambda. Yeah, Trump is currently on 301 electoral votes. Yes, exactly. That's what this is all. You guys have no idea how big this is. I need to pull up this slide. Hold on. Hold on a second. So I'm going to take you guys back to a few videos ago where Lambda 115 discovered one of the most amazing things I'd ever seen. All right, and here it is. Let me pull it up. So here's Lambda 115 and his video, okay? So guys, make sure you guys go check out his video. All right, so this is it, guys. How many electoral votes does Trump currently have? Somebody put that number in the chat. How many electoral votes does Trump currently have, as Arizona is the only state left? And Arizona is the first and the last. Why? Because Arizona starts with the alpha and ends with the Z, which is the omega in the American alphabet. Well, if you guys love Lambda, you need to I mean, yeah, he was dead on with this because look, Trump has 301 votes right now. If you go from the very first word of Revelation, 301 words in, you land on the word trumpet. That 301 words is a total of 1,188 letters. President Trump equals 1188. If you do the same thing, okay? If you do the same thing and you go from the very last word of Revelation, again, this is symbolic, guys. The first word and the last word. You go from the first, you land on trumpet. You go from the last, you land on 301 words, which is also 1188 letters. I don't know if people really understand how improbable this is. And what is the very first thing it says after the word trumpet? Do you guys know? Do you guys know what so if you go 301 words in, you land on trumpet. What is the very next line in this chapter? Can someone type it in or I'll just look it up. What's the very next line? Let me just pull it up, guys. Let's see. Wait, it's Revelation 1:8. Okay. Shoot. I mean, let me just show you how improbable this is. Okay. All right. So again, if you measure 301 words into the book of Revelation, you land on Where is it at, man? I can't find it now. Trumpet. Right here. So this is 301 words in. You land on trumpet right here. Trump, right? The immediate thing it says right after the trumpet is what, guys? Saying, I am the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last. That's literally the next line. Do you guys understand? And what Lambda did is he took from the beginning of it 301 words in. It lands on trumpet, which President Trump equals 1188. It's 1188 letters. And then if you go from the last word in 301 letters, you land on 1188 letters. It's improbable. That's why the very thing it says after trumpet, if I can find it again, I keep losing it. Hold on. The very thing it says after trumpet is I am the Alpha and the Omega, which is exactly why I'm making this connection, okay? Right here. This is why I think this really is, because this tells us, this is too perfect, guys. Why is Trump currently on? Let me just show you. The last state we're waiting on to count, and look at what Trump is on right now, guys. 301. Lambda literally just did a video a few days before this measuring 301 words into Revelation, and you landed on trumpet. And that's 1188 letters, which is President Trump in Gematria. I mean, and now the last state that's waiting is the 11 electoral votes of Arizona. And in the word Arizona, you have the first and the last letter. Let me point this out. Zone. And it ends, okay? It ends with an A. So this represents a reset, guys. You start with the Alpha, you got the Omega, and then you have the reset, starting over. Do you guys understand the word Arizona here? It's perfectly geometrical. Let me show it, okay? Why is Arizona the last place? Yeah, and AZ is the abbreviation for Arizona, of course, too. But again, look at the word Arizona. It's A, 2 letters, RI, and then a Z, and then 2 letters, and an A. So you have the reset. You have A101, right? Or you have 191 or whatever you want to. Actually, I guess that would be 181 because Z is the 26th letter. So 2 plus 6 is 8, right? So there you go, guys. That's why Trump is waiting for his last. He's stuck on 301 while Arizona is waiting to finish the election. And again, that's 301 words into Revelation is the trumpet. Okay, it's also perfect. Yeah, Donald Trump equals 48, and Arizona's the 48th state. Yeah, guys, make sure you go check out the new channel, Numbers Weaving Reality, in the chat. He has a new channel. He's just getting started, so make sure you guys go support him. And yeah, he's got a great mind, and he's going to do well if he. I like his videos. His videos are very chill. Yeah, moon in Greek equals 301. That's the whole point behind this too, is the moon. The reason that the 301 is important is that moon equals 301 in Greek. It's a huge moon number. John says, I love the decodes. This community is great. Thank you. And yeah, I also love this community. Thank you guys so much. Please hit those like buttons. Let's try to get to 200 likes before the stream's over. I don't know if we can do it, but I think we can try. Anyways, I think the things I'm laying out in this decode are pretty. I mean, everything I laid out. Let's just go back to the 147s for a second, and then we'll start wrapping it up. But this slide is what you want to focus on. Okay. Again, from the first president being inaugurated. What's the verse, Dr. Savage? What's the verse leaving 301 verses? Which one? I didn't see. Revelation 6:7. Oh, okay. And when he had opened the fourth seal, I heard the voice of the fourth beast saying, "Come and see." Interesting. Very interesting. And let's not forget, guys, today is a huge day too. We have a lot of synchronicities going on today. Today is 11/9. It's 119 days after Trump got his wound, and it's 8,460 days after 9/11, and 8:46 is the time the tower was hit. I didn't really expect anything really to happen today. I just thought it was an interesting. It's an amazing synchronicity how everything lines up today. Is there anyone in the chat that would like to jump on the stream for a bit? I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. Jamie N says, my last decode was mind-blowing. Yeah, it was. And I think this one is right up there, I don't think this one is much lower. I mean, maybe it's a bit worse than that one, but this decode is right up there, I think. Thank you, Audatron. Appreciate you. Also, you guys know that today's the anniversary of the Berlin Wall, and the Berlin Wall equals 846. Today's 8460 days after 9/11. It's pretty crazy, actually. There's huge connections with today. Maybe the energy is going to carry over to next week or tomorrow or something. I don't know. We'll see. Thank you, Claudia. Thank you, Jamie. We got 140 likes. Thank you guys so much. Claudia says she's from Berlin. Oh, cool. So you're in Germany too. Hey, Jenna. Yeah, you just got here. You missed a huge portion of the decode. But the thing that I have up here is a big part of it on the screen right now. Captain Flatastic, you're funny, man. She says, I'm an Aries in Gregorian time. Otherwise, I'm a Pisces. I got horns, though, ready to ram you off my mountain. That's funny. I love you, Captain. Thanks for being part of the channel, as always. No, you don't need StreamYard, man. I'll send you the link if you want to get on. If you want to get on, I'll have you jump on. Did I miss? Yeah, there's the link. There's the link if anyone wants to join. Again, guys, this is a community effort. I want to grow a more of a community here, like let's get more people involved. Let's get people on the stream. Let's get people doing some decodes. And it's nice to see new people doing some decoding, regardless of whatever it is they're doing. then it's good, you know. Okay, that's no problem. I mean, we'll set up a round table and people can jump on. So, Auditron, what's up, man? Can you hear me?
What
Auditron,
up, OG? Can I hear you? Not
you hear
exactly
me?
sure what's up, but I see that you brought me into the stream. My name's Autotron. I'm in the chat,
Yeah.
but I also see that I cannot hear you. So therefore, I must exit and re-enter. I will see you in it.
Okay. So, okay, I guess he's coming back. I guess he's coming back. Auditron sounded like he was a bit Auditron-y. He was bouncing in and out a bit.
All right. Let's see what's up. Let me turn it off. I'm gonna.
Can you hear me now, though?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yeah.
I can totally hear you. Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, we good. We're good. So yes, I let me ask you: are you saying like because I'm someone who just discovered you? Are you saying Trump is the first? He's like the first and last president. It's weird. He's like the last president, right? Like that's ever going to be or something. I mean, I've heard rumors floating around that Trump is the last president. You know, also heard that about Barack Obama, but like around this time period, everybody is like thinking that the entire United States government is just going to collapse. You know, it's a very strange phenomenon.
Okay, so since you're new, let me kind of explain in a short overview of why I don't know exactly what this even means by last president. It could be that he completely redoes the United States during his next term, and things are just way different. So basically, it's like a reset. Or he could actually be the last president, depending on what happens with the. But did you know the book Ingersoll and Lockwood, The Last President? Have you ever heard of that?
What had to? I can't say the name sounds familiar, but definitely I've heard rumors of last presidents. Yes.
Yeah. So in 1892 or 1896, there was a book written called The Last President. And the book starts out by saying the president has been elected in New York. Of course, Trump is from New York. And what happens after the president gets elected is there's a bunch of riots. Now, what makes this book interesting is the author who wrote this, The Last President, a few years before, he wrote a book called The Adventures of Baron Trump. Let me bring up my slides so you can see what you might want, if you can see the screen while I'm talking to you, it will help you understand.
No, absolutely. But I didn't realize he wrote He wrote that Baron Trump book, because that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, so here's this timeline. I don't know if you can see the screen, but I have a timeline up on the screen that puts it all together, okay? So Trump's grandfather, who came from Bavaria, Germany, which is the same place the Bavarian Illuminati was founded, he came to the United States and he became an official U.S. citizen in the year 1892. Now, the year 1892 is the year of the election of Grover Cleveland. And Trump just became the second Grover Cleveland because Trump just became the second president to get elected in a split term. So Trump's grandfather became an official U.S. citizen in the year of that election, and he voted in that election. Okay, that's Trump's grandfather, Frederick Trump. The next year after that election, the book Baron Trump, The Adventures of Baron Trump, was written by Ingersoll and Lockwood in 1893. So that's just 1 year after Frederick Trump becomes a citizen. Now you have this book about a Trump character being written. The next year, or 4 years after the election, which is the length of a presidential term, by the way. 4 years is a presidential term. In 1896, the book The Last President was released by the same author who wrote the Barron Trump book. And the next election, again, this ties perfectly because, again, Trump's grandfather was part of this election for the first time in 1892, and Trump just became the second ever split-term president. And immediately after Trump won, Elon Musk came out and he posted Novus Ordo Seclorum with a picture of Trump. Novus Ordo Seclorum in Latin, in English, means New Order of the Ages, which basically stands for New World Order. But New Order of the Ages equals Bavarian Illuminati. Now, the Bavarian Illuminati is where Trump's grandfather came from. And again, from the election where Trump's grandfather voted to the election this year was 131 years, 11 months, 28 days. 1128 is the gematria of Bavarian Illuminati and New Order of the Ages. So that's how it all comes together. It's obvious that they've been setting this Trump thing up for a while. Now, does that mean he's the actual last president? Or does that mean he radically changes the direction of the United States and basically resets the country? And then basically it's like a reset, right? Does he become like a Hitler and eventually does he, like, a lot of people say he's going to install his family as, like, he's going to try to get his daughter to be the next president after him and have his whole family, be the presidents from here on out. That's what a lot of people are speculating. I don't know if that's what's going to happen, but
Absolutely. And let's just focus on one other interesting facet of this entire debacle, and that is that whether or not Trump is going to be the last president is interesting. That's an interesting question because the word last is actually, it can be used in multiple ways as an adjective or adverb, and each has different meanings, So
right.
is Trump the last one? It could be. He's the
Yeah, and
last.
that's exactly what I'm saying. I don't think things are very clear exactly yet what that means, but there is definitely a clear pattern. That's what I do on this channel, really, is point out the pretty interesting patterns that govern this reality. Now, whether you want to believe it's a matrix reality or whether you want to believe it's the elites, that's up to you. But
I might just interrupt real quick. It was just that if he was the last president to actually do a particular thing or not. In other words, the last might actually not mean last in existence, but it might mean last one to perform a certain task or function or performance. Throwing that up.
Right. And that's definitely very realistic. That's why I'm thinking you have this. Before the election, you heard that thing came out about Trump being part of Agenda 2025. Did you hear about that?
Oh, I heard about the 2025 thing, but I never really got into the details of it. My bro had just passed away, so I was all on another mission. You know what I mean? So.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm sorry to hear about your brother, and that's definitely understandable that you're focusing on something else, because that's something more important to focus on. So, like, I don't know actually a lot about this Agenda 2025, or it's called Project 2025. But basically, this thing lays out like this idea that Trump. I mean, supposedly Trump's not even connected with this, but it basically states that the project launched in 2022 and is intended to strengthen the goals of the next Republican win of the U.S. presidency. Although the project participants cannot promote a specific candidacy, there are many connections to the views and the statements of the plans of Donald Trump. The plan would envision a rapid takeover of the entire U.S. executive branch under a maximal version of unitarian executive theory, which states that the president of the United States has absolute power over the executive branch. So this is what Trump has been supposedly linked to, and which is interesting because what you just said, up until now, the presidents have performed the same duties, but is Trump going to completely change the structure of the government? Or is he going to even be able to do that? I don't know.
Exactly. And thank you, by the way, I just want to say thank you so much for your condolences. My brother was an activist in California, and he did a lot for local government in some certain city that I can't mention. But
Okay.
uh, yeah, just like I think Trump is as far as 2025 and him. I've never heard of this either. That's why I was looking to you for a little bit more information, about it.
Hmm. Yeah, and I like again, I think that the biggest thing here is that this whole Trump thing seems different this time. It seems like there's something in the works. And again, there's something. I think next March is going to be a big time frame to watch for some major events. For some, there's a blood moon lunar eclipse on Pi Day, and Trump was born. I don't know if you know this, but Trump was born on a blood moon lunar eclipse.
I didn't know that, but this is interesting. Before we go to that, can we talk about the 2025 as it relates to gematria? Why does that even introduce into our consciousness? You know what I mean? Like this concept of 2025 and
Right.
project 25. There's got to be a reason for that being introduced. You know.
Yeah, there is for sure. I mean, they do stuff ahead of time, They program stuff in ahead of time, and many times that we've proven that on this channel and other channels have shown that too. I mean, it's just like the monkeypox thing that just happened, and then you had monkeys just escaping from the bio lab on the same day Trump was officially elected. And Trump has a huge connection to this monkey thing, and I think it really points to possible. Like I was just saying, I think it points a lot to next March during the lunar eclipse, because how I just showed you that Trump's grandfather was part of the election in 1892. Well, he happens to be born on Pi Day, which is the lunar eclipse next year. So that'll be his 156th birthday. And yeah, so March looks really interesting, but I guess we got to get through November and all the other months first. But I'm definitely looking towards March. And numbers weaving reality. We got you on here. What's up, brother?
How's it going? Speaking of March, that reminds me of your decode you did for March. Was it March 25th, 2025? It was about the blackout and stuff like that. I still think that is relevant, and I still keep that in my notes. Still try to look at that.
Absolutely. And you know what? I've taken a long break off from that whole agenda, or whatever I guess you want to call it. I haven't talked about the blackout in ages. Some of my most popular early on videos was about the cyber attack, cyber pandemic blackouts. And I've taken a break from that because it's basically been all about presidents since then. But I need to, as March comes, I think I'm going to really start returning to talking about that. And it's funny you mentioned that. I know you've been watching my channel for a long time. I remember how you were
Yeah, since the
commenting a long time.
beginning, pretty much.
Yeah, so I'm glad you reminded me of that, because that's actually pretty. I think that's very possible that that's the place they're taking us. Klaus Schwab said, there'll be a cyber pandemic. So we already had a pandemic when Trump was president the first time, so would seem fitting to have another type of pandemic.
Yeah, also Elon Musk having the black MAGA hat. I don't know what's going on there, but there has to be something symbolic for that, I feel like.
Absolutely, yeah. Did Autotron come back in? I guess there's two Autotrons here.
No, I'm back. I dropped out accidentally.
Oh, okay, yeah. But yeah, back to what you were saying, numbers. Yeah, it's that dark MAGA thing definitely points to that,
Yeah.
And there's a huge football riddle that I haven't covered yet in any of my videos because it's more of a recent one with the blackout narrative. But you know the two brothers, right? The Harbaugh brothers. I don't know if you know them.
Yeah.
Okay, well, remember the Blackout Bowl in 2013? When was that? Let me just type it in. Let me bring it up for people to see.
Yeah, it's been a while since I looked at that.
Of 2025. Was that a conservative effort or the left?
Project 2025?
Mm-hmm.
This was a very right wing plan, I guess. It was written up by a very right wing people, basically.
Yes. Very conservative. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. So this is actually pretty interesting because remember, the Blackout Bowl was in New Orleans, Louisiana, guys. Well,
Oh, wow.
the Super Bowl next year is in New Orleans, Louisiana. And remember, this was the 47th Super Bowl. We literally just had the 47th president get elected, and he will be inaugurated just like days before this Super Bowl. So this seems to, I mean, if anything is pointing to a blackout, and this year, it seems like it's all pointing to that time because you got the Super Bowl in the same city. You got the 47th president, and this was Super Bowl 47. The final score was 34-31. It was the black team, the Baltimore Ravens. And of course, in gematria, the word black equals 34. And it was the final score was 34-31. So definitely, and Joe Flacco was the quarterback. That's interesting. Joe Biden, Joe Flacco.
Yeah, that's a crazy connection. 47th Super Bowl,
right?
New Orleans, and now the Super Bowl is taking place in New Orleans while we have our 47th president-elect or 47th president.
Yeah, exactly. And the coaches during this game were the Harbaugh brothers. Now, the Harbaugh brother who won the game, he stayed in the NFL this whole time. He's been coaching the same team this whole time. But the other one from San Francisco, he ended up leaving and coming back, but now he's back in the NFL. And out of all teams, guess what team he plays for? Or he coaches? The Chargers.
The Niners?
Yeah, energy. Look at
The
that.
Chargers.
The lightning bolt, the electricity, you know?
Yeah.
And of course, the game that he played his brother in, the electricity went out. Go ahead.
I don't know who the Chargers are. Where are the Chargers from? I don't know why I'm flaking on that right now. But
Los Angeles.
LA Charger. Okay, so it's still Cali. Okay, just checking.
Yep. And they have the lightning bolt, and there was a Super Bowl a few years back where Arnold Schwarzenegger played Zeus. Of course, Zeus is the god with the lightning bolt. Yeah. And in that Super Bowl commercial, Zeus knocks out the power to LA. And of course, now you have the Harbaugh brother who was in the Blackout Bowl where the lights went out. He's now coaching the lightning bolt team. So to me, that was a signal. Like as soon as I saw Jim Harbaugh got hired to coach the Chargers, I immediately was saying, "Oh shoot!" Like I think this is a signal that the blackout is coming. Like whatever that is, it's coming.
Numbers weaving reality. Do you believe that like there's a blackout coming? Like I kind of have. I hope it doesn't because I'm overlanding and like I mean I have a battery and I can get gas and stuff still. You know what I mean? So like I just hope for all the people that are out there in the cities and living in their homes with their grandparents and all the places that needs so much electricity. Elderly facilities. All that. I just hope that nobody gets affected. That you know what I mean? Like that. Is there really an outage coming?
I don't know. I think this has been a huge narrative for a long time, even from following all the decoders for a long time. It's been a long narrative. And then you have, Janet Napolitano, I think in 2013, talking about the next 9/11 style event would be like a cyber attack and a blackout or whatever. So we know it's coming, and who knows how long it'll be for. A lot of people go way over and say it's for 10 days because 10 days of darkness or 2 weeks, or you should have 3 weeks worth of food. But I think it'll be, this is just me speculating. I don't know. And there's no gematria behind it, but just seeing if they're going to do it, it's going to be like maybe an attack on us and a grid goes down maybe for a day, right? Because I don't think they want to kill off a whole bunch of people because, and I feel like they're going to use that to either push us to something digital, right? They're going to and they'll stop everything. They'll stop the, trading. They'll stop, the movement of money, and they'll use that as one of the things to push us to blockchain. Be like, because of this, national emergency from wherever and whoever, they're going to stop everything, create a blackout, or the blackout's created, and just whatever, all at the same time. And then that's their narrative to push us to blockchain. But also it's like, a multifaceted event. I feel like it's not just for one reason, but I really don't think it'll be for days and days on end. Like, there's no way that
But-
would be insane.
But you realize also that it could have been planned from like 1992 to the election of 2024. Like this whole outage that everyone's been warning us. Anyone that's been on YouTube has seen all the like prepper videos, like, oh, let's get ready, right? Like so much mind control. Oh my God. It's disgusting how much mind control has been on the internet. But
Yeah. I feel like it'll be some kind of attack, and then we'll have a shutdown. And there's numerous things why I think that, and it's just it'd be too much to put together. But I don't think it'll be for days on end. I think it'll be either hours in a day or a day. And I'm pretty sure you had the World Economic Forum putting out a video. Remember, they said they had to stop Bitcoin, you would have to shut down the internet for one day. So it's like, I feel like they're giving us the time frame of it. So who knows? I don't know, but I feel like it really does happen, and it's going to be used to push us to blockchain. Because remember, who was it? The head of Swift in 2022, and Jerome Powell or somebody was saying we have 3 years to convert everyone onto blockchain by 2025. So I feel like in the year of 2025, everything gets switched over and they use that. But I feel like they use it for a war narrative as well, or whatever. And Trump's here, and
hey, check it out. The Federal Reserve is so bad, right? Let's get rid of it, right? So then they replace it. It's called problem reaction solution Hegelian dialect. The whole Federal Reserve System itself was all a facade. Like, it was never really meant to help the people.
Yeah.
It's always meant to bring in this extra layer of governance. In other words,
Yeah, you guys are really throwing down some good stuff right now. Numbers and Auditron, you guys are both making some good points. Numbers, and what you said is exactly pretty much in line with what I was thinking. They try to make these things really dramatic, but usually they're not as dramatic as what they're made out to be. But it's still important to be prepared and have stuff ready. But I don't think it's like I think what you're dead on, because I've seen plenty of connections with the banking system. Because of course I started my channel actually decoding cryptocurrency, and that's actually how I got into Gematria. And so there's this ICE 9 thing where eventually one day they'll shut down the banks. There'll be some sort of attack on the banks that will force people to have their money changed. It's just like what happened during the gold standard. They had everyone bring their gold in. Yeah. So there's going to be an event like this that absolutely changes the way that money moves and how money is. Now, that I think in order to do that, it has to be something digital. Like you said, is there going to be an attack on Bitcoin or on cryptocurrency where something happens to Bitcoin and people lose all their money on Bitcoin? Or I don't know if that's going to happen, but there's options we could throw out. It's just until it actually happens, I guess we don't know. But,
well, there's nothing that they can do to actually impact the entire global community economically. You see, and that's the problem, because not everybody's participating in their schemes.
That's exactly what I think. No one's participating, so they need some style of attack to make it for everyone to be okay for us to go to digital. Because I know a lot of people who still don't like cryptocurrency or like the fact of digital money, but it's like if something happens and then it tricks everyone's, the mass majority of people to be like, okay, well, we need to go to blockchain. They make it okay. There's no one against it. And I feel like that's why they need some style of attack or something to finally push us over, even though they've been preparing it for years. I
mean, it's the same type of stuff they used to get people to take the jabs after, it's the same type of style. The question is it going to work? Because personally, I drove Amish, right? that was my job before I moved here to Germany with my girlfriend. I know the Amish are never going to give in. They're never going to, I mean, go that far. I mean, they kind of go far enough as far as to have a vehicle. Like I drive them, they have a vehicle and they use a phone a bit. But the Amish, you know, there's going to be a lot of people that are not going to be on board. But is it going to take something? What's it going to take to get these people on board? I don't know.
Yeah, it's like Pearl Harbor. It took that for the U.S. citizens to be okay to go to World War II.
Yeah, exactly.
Before that, no one wanted to be a part of that war until an attack happened, and they were like, "Yeah, let's go."
Yep.
Yep.
Because if you attack the Amish in America, guess what's going to happen? All the cities and counties and boroughs are going to rise up against you because everyone knows they are like a protected community within this country. You see what I'm saying? They're like the elderly, the Amish. So like in America, a lot of people have respect for the Amish.
Yeah. I mean, there's no reason not to have respect for the Amish. They, you know, I mean, there's some bad apples in there. I've met some pretty filthy, bad Amish guys, but most of them are respectful, hard workers, simple, and just trying to just live life. You know, they don't want to be part of any system. They just want to do their farming, do their building, and just enjoy their times with their friends. I mean, the Amish are just normal people, and I've seen plenty of it. You know, I've worked with them.
Now let's talk about this. Let's get back to the main point of this entire broadcast, I think, which is basically like this entire numbers thing and how it all plays into it. Like Amish people 100% respect Donald Trump. You know what I mean? Like because they are the type of people that respect their women. You know what I'm saying? And they're not going to make their dudes like convert their gender, you know, to participate in women's sports or anything like that. You know what I mean? So like you've got people that genuinely respect natural law. You know what I mean? Like, and I think I was just wondering if there was any type of Amish numerology stuff going on. You know, I don't know. I'm just throwing that out there. So just so we can get back to the host's agenda.
Well, I don't know. In gematria, Amish. I don't know. Amish equals Donald. I find that interesting. I've always found that interesting.
Wow. Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah. Look at Amish and Donald.
Oh.
So it is interesting because Trump is trying to bring back like the more Amish type of life. You know, really, he's even saying he's going to ban transgender, I guess, or something. Like he's gonna put people back in schools to teach kids the right genderism or whatever that. You know, and the Amish, of course, are not even close to being for any type of transitioning, or I mean, they're as strict as it would come. So I just always find it interesting that Amish equals Donald, and we have Donald Trump, and the Amish love Donald Trump. They do. Yeah, they love Donald Trump.
I'm sure they do.
But they don't. And you know what? Amish are open to gematria. I often spoke to my Amish crews that I worked with about these numbers, and they did not shoot it down at all. They were very open to it. And I would explain to them that Donald Trump is also coded into this. He is part of the elite. Yep. And they would be like, yeah, we understand that he probably is. But what they like about Donald Trump is the effect that he had on them and the economy. Of course, that's what they care about more than anything. So I can understand why they like Donald Trump, because they also see just how nasty and cruel and crude some of the left stuff is. You know, the transgenderism, they're not down with that at all. So
you know what, Dr. Savage, you're not Dr. Savage. You are. Oh my God, who am I talking to? You guys, I totally joined this live stream happenstance. This is like my first time here. So
well, I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here. This is Decoding with Cody channel. Dr. Savage also has his own channel too.
I see that. He's got a nice channel. So there's a guy named Monograph who's out there. He talks about some of the coding stuff too. I don't know if you've heard about him. He's been around the internet for some days, but he talks about the number 88 a lot. And when he talks about Donald Trump, can you talk about the relevance of the number 88 as it relates to Donald Trump?
Okay, well, I mean, this is one of the big things in the gematria community. If if you haven't been part of it long, I mean, Trump equals 88, right? And just basic, simplest English gematria, A is 1, B is 2, C is 3. If you add the word Trump up, it equals 88. And Trump has been a part of many 88 connections over the years, but the biggest one, which I just covered, was the connection to Back to the Future. The movie Back to the Future features a character named Biff Tannen, who is specifically modeled after Trump. Even the director or the writer has stated that Biff Tannen was directly modeled after Donald Trump. And in Back to the Future, this is the biggest number in that movie. If you're aware of that movie, the biggest number in that movie is the number 88, because in order for them to time travel, they need to go 88 miles an hour. And this whole election was scripted around eights, because right before the election, Trump won, the Los Angeles Dodgers won their 8th World Series. And they did that, and the World Series started on the anniversary of the Back to the Future, where they travel in the movie, October 25th. The World Series this year started on the anniversary of that movie where they travel back in time. And again, this kind of cycles back to the idea of resets, or Back to the Future, going back in time and returning to our traditional values, maybe Back to the Future, making our future, make America great again, is also, if you think about the phrase "make America great again," it literally is the same meaning as Back to the Future. You're making America what it was. You're going back to make the future what it was, essentially bringing back the values, right, of the old days.
Wow, that's a good point. Yeah, it has the same vibe. You know, it's like, oh, let's make America great again. Let's go back to the future. Oh yeah.
Yeah. And the biggest thing I forgot to even mention here is the same day that World Series started, which was on Back to the Future Day. Guess what they did on the New York Post? They posted Trump on the front of the New York Post saying "Back to the Future."
Interesting.
And at the bottom of that magazine, it said the World Series. And again, I told you the World Series was, that first game of the World Series was the very day they posted this Trump Back to the Future. And remember, the World Series is a huge component of that movie. In that movie, Biff Tannen uses the sports almanac, and there's a whole mention of the World Series. Because remember, when Doc Brown wants to travel back in time, the first thing he says is, "I want to see who's going to win the next World Series." So there's a whole connection with what happened on the 25th this year with Back to the. I did a whole bunch of videos on it. If you haven't seen them, if you have time to check them out, that might help bring some things together.
Also, they mentioned the World Series there too, which is like, it's kind of weird that a big movie like that would like, I want to see who wins the World Series. Like, why? Why does that even matter? Why? Because it's all brainwashing. You see what I'm saying? It's all everything's been encoded and embedded, and yeah, like I think the number 88. Yeah, you're bringing in some good stuff here with the movie Back to the Future, I think.
Well, and another thing to mention there with what you just said that goes with that is that the number, or the way that the number 119 was encoded in that movie too. I don't know if you've ever seen that, but that movie was actually very well had predictive programming for 9/11. There's plenty of videos on the internet that have shown that. I can't remember the specific ones, but the other thing to mention here is that with Trump being equaling 88, and the whole movie being about time, and in fact, if you use one of the other ciphers in gematria, which is basically the alphabetic order times 6. Okay, so, and the reason that you're doing the 6 is because 6 is the number of man, the perfect number. It's the first perfect number. So what you do is you take the original alphabet and you just multiply everything times 6. So basically, in the that cipher, Donald J. Trump, his name he usually goes by, it equals 888. And in that same cipher, time traveler equals 888. And in the name of the time traveler in the movie Back to the Future, Doc Brown, Emmett Brown equals 188 in the same cipher.
Wow.
So you have Donald Trump 888, Emmett Brown 888, and Time Traveler 888. And what's interesting about the number 888 is it's half of 1776. 888 plus 888 is 1776.
Well, I forgot that.
Whoa.
So
all the patriots out there, are you listening? Okay.
Yeah. So the 8s are so huge. And what I think this goes back to ultimately with the time travel thing is the Saturn connection. In fact, in Francis Bacon gematria, Saturn equals 88. And if you look up astrology and what number represents Saturn, you're going to find that it's represented by the number 8. Of course, Saturn is also represented by the number 6 because it has the hex. The planet Saturn has the hex on top of it. So Saturn is also associated with the number 6. But if you look up the astrology connections, you'll find a lot of articles talking about how the number 8 is associated with Saturn. And of course, the whole movie Back to the Future is about time. And of course, we all know Saturn is the keeper of time, the Grim Reaper. So there is this huge Saturn connection. In fact, there's always a huge Saturn connection because Saturn is one of the biggest parts of a lot of these secret societies. They worship Saturn. So, in fact, Trump also does it. You often see Trump with black cubes around him.
That's what I was just looking up. It's like black cube equals 60, and this is a 60th election. And then black square, which I don't know if that's relevant, is 38. And you said Grim Reaper death, 38. But black cube 60, I mean, 60th election.
Yeah, that's a good point. I don't think I've ever thought to look up the gematria of black cube just by itself.
The whole cube, like, and being stacked on top of each other like a checkerboard, right? Like,
right.
That's all Masonic stuff, right?
Well, and you know, mate, that black and white symbolism is Saturn symbolism. It's black and white is Saturn colors.
Well, I apologize for saying those words. It's mostly like symbolism for like stacking stuff on other things, you know what I mean, and taking control over other things. Because I mean, two cats, right? And the cats are making love, right? Or dogs, or whatever it might be, right? One is over the other, and it's like, okay, so like you got this whole like coveting thing, like in order to create something, you have to actually be above it, So I'm just throwing that. So there's these.
Right. Well, and
that's another thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and Saturn is known as a lot of times it's compared as the architect. That's why they go around in a circle around the cube in Mecca.
Yeah.
And Saturn represents putting limits on things. So essentially what Trump is trying to do is limit now these radical movements, right? That's what Trump's all about. In fact, I read earlier that in Masonry,
that's horrible. Yeah, that's bad news. Go ahead.
In Masonry, their whole thing is they're trying to square the square. So this also goes back to the checkerboard because it's just a bunch of squares, black and white squares. Right. And the whole thing is about squaring the square, which in my mind is all Saturn symbolism because, again, Saturn is the square. It's the cube that the time that we're stuck in, the limits that this reality puts on us. Our bodies limit us because we die. As we get older, things hold us back, whether we get injuries over time, our bodies begin to deteriorate. That's a limit on our youth. So Saturn is always this limiter, whereas Jupiter is an expansion. So the son of Saturn, which is Jupiter, is that expansion. And kind of what I think is kind of representing here right now is you got this left movement trying to expand into all these things, while you have this Saturn energy trying to continue to keep things, I guess, in a block, or try to hold things suppressed, I guess.
You see that on the political.
Yeah, I see that with Trump being put in place because I think, again, the first thing he said is that he's going to take away these transgender rights. He's going to stop these these progressive things from, because humanity is just progressing into more and more, unnatural things, right? Like things that just don't make a lot of sense to me, at least. And Trump is basically catering to most of these people, especially in the United States, that are against these type of things. My mom, especially, I grew up in a Christian household. These things are very evil to most Christians,
Radical,
transgender.
right?
What's
It's
that?
radical. It's radical stuff. Hey, what number in the alphabet is R? Because radical starts with R.
18.
18.
Yep. 18 is R is the 18th letter, and of course, Rome, like Roman, starts with the letter R. It's
Oh
the
my goodness.
WWE. The
Wow.
WWE right now has a character named Roman Reigns.
Mm.
He plays a character, and he's the tribal chief. He's the OTC, the original. It's a huge Roman Catholic Church like symbolism, but his initials are RR, like 1818. And yeah, that's a huge thing too with the R's. And the R is also like a P, but with an extra leg on it. So there's probably something there too.
There is something there. A lot of the American law is actually based on like a lot of Roman law tradition, and even
Yeah.
though it might not be actually a law, like it's a path as a statute, but still we still have this traditions of capitalizing things and whatever it might be as it relates to Roman like type form,
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. And with Rome, it's funny. I think Rome equals 24. We're near 24. The Roman influence is just the Roman Catholic Church. The influence, of course, everything is a lot of stuff is scripted. Almost everything is scripted around the Pope. And that's the funny thing is the Pope is born on the first day of Saturnalia.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you're I know you're new, but I don't know if you know about the number 201. Do you know that number?
Are you talking to me or Autotron?
Oh no, not you, Autotron.
howdy, yeah, not really.
201. Yeah, I don't know if I have the energy or time to get into it now, but basically the 201 is the number of the Jesuit order, the society in the Roman Catholic Church. The Pope right now is he's the first Jesuit Pope, and his name equals 201 in gematria. He lives in room 201 at the Vatican, and the name of the room is the Domus Sancti Martyr, which equals 201. Saturn worship equals 201. The Society of the Jesuit Order equals 201. The society was saved by Catherine the Great with 201 priests. The founder of the Society of Jesus, his name is Ignatius of Loyola, which also equals 201. We had Event 201 before the pandemic, and it was a simulation of a pandemic. It was called Event 201, and it was held by William Henry. You know what? I don't want to say his full name, but his full name equals 201. And he's all about pushing the V's.
Billy Goat.
Yeah. So the 201s, most people that are like been around a lot, but if you're new, like the 201 is one of the most important numbers we know in this community. So
yeah, if you usually see the 201, it's pretty important. Like even down to sports. Remember when Messi, and then the night before he went away from the team and stayed in his own hotel in room 201. You're like,
yeah,
wow.
that was crazy, man. That was just more. I couldn't believe that. Like he goes away in a different hotel from the rest of his team, and he just happens to be staying in that number. Like,
yeah, I never really bet or anything, but I that is one of the second or third bets I ever took and put money on it because I was like, wow, they're literally.
And you remember when right at the beginning of the pandemic, this is another clear one. Joseph always shows this on his channel, but Tom Hanks was the first person to get the COVID, and the day he got it, he said he was losing to his wife in gin rummy by 201 points.
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
I remember that.
And then I'm sorry. Does that actually prove that if he's losing this gin rummy by 200 points, right, and he chose to take the COVID vaccine on the same day, right, that somehow he's like proud, like that he's a dumbass because
Yeah, I mean, who knows if he really took it or not? I mean, I don't know if these elites are even down with taking it because they probably know it's not
Right.
what that seems to be. So who knows if he even took it or not? Who knows if go ahead.
no, I was just saying he's proud. Go ahead.
Yeah, so yeah, basically to sum up all this 201 stuff, it's a huge number. It's also in my mind, well, the 201 represents in my mind something very symbolic. It represents two becoming nothing, becoming one.
Mhm.
So it's kind of like a spiritual process. The number 201. You look at the world as everything is separate or a duality, and then a lot of people on their spiritual path they begin to feel like they're as soon as the duality tires them out because they start to feel like they're in a world where everything's it's duality. It's me and you, it's us and them, it's me against you, them. That's what this reality runs on. And then the zero in the middle represents kind of the feeling of I feel like lost or nothing, right? The zero, or kind of that, but it's not necessarily a bad nothing. It's kind of like I don't know. I've kind of studied the spiritual process, but then so you go from the two duality to the zero, which is kind of nothingness or emptiness, and then you kind of go to the one where you feel united with God. You feel united with things. So that's kind of how I see this number actually really playing out. But a lot of people don't really look at it that way. But I mean, that's how I see this number, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's so important to this secret societies because it represents something visually, it's not just a number.
I like that take. I kind of feel the same way. I would wonder if it's like, you know how like we live in a binary system, ones and zeros and blah blah blah.
Right.
And
Yeah.
also I was kind of like speculating too, like what if it's like so you live in like two different realities, right? Like you're kind of stuck in their system that they made for you and or just the organic, and then you finally see both of them and live, you know, I don't know. I don't know how to explain that, but what you were
Yeah.
saying is pretty good too.
Yeah. There's a
It's
couple different things.
it's
Go ahead.
when you don't really see the it's hard to explain the whole wake up point when you don't really see the whole big agenda, the thing that's out there, and then you finally do wake up and realize, oh, there's something other, that's very difficult to explain. So like, it's not, don't feel bad, host, that you know what I mean about that.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I meant is like when I went on my own path in life, I kind of was raised in this world where I'm seeing everything as two and kind of feeling like separate. I guess
Yeah.
separateness is kind of the feeling separate, feeling like you're trying to fill this void of separateness. And then that kind of beats you down. Like, cause back in 2015, I got married for 1 year and then got a divorce and it kind of destroyed me. It was the worst time of my life for sure, but it was actually the most it was actually the most needed time of my life because had I not gone through that, I would not be who I am today at all. Not even close.
Yeah,
So it was more of a but I remember feeling like nothing. I went from first of all just living in a dualistic world where I was just going through the motions, just believing everything that was, just thinking that everyone was my, it was like natural selection, I guess. That's what the two represents, just like this duality, And then after you get broken, you kind of feel like nothing. You just get to this place of like, man, do I even want to be here? Like if you really get to that point, and then you kind of reach this point of like somebody in the chat said, it's like crossing the abyss. That might be a good 201.
I like that.
Yeah. So I think there's this, of course, this is just my opinion, but that's just how I see it. That's what that number means to me. It doesn't have to mean it to you or anyone else, but that's just kind of how I see it.
201.
You know what I've noticed about the 201? 201's like the if you see it like ritualized or in the numbers with something, it's a major thing on the world stage.
Yeah.
That's like with Trump, there was 201s, the pandemic, and then even the Ripple case, it was 201 days before Jay Clayton's birthday. That's how you know it's kind of like an important thing on like a global, or not a global, but on the world stage, you know.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that because that Ripple thing, remember the name of that party they had on September 29th in 2023? They called it the proper party. It equaled 201.
And that's so weird because I mean, who put that together? Was it Brad Garlinghouse and them?
It was Ripple. Yeah, it was Ripple in general, I think.
Oh yeah, you know what? I forgot about that. That's so weird, huh?
Oh my gosh, guys, we have 201 in the chat right now. You see what I mean?
That happens almost every time for you when you're talking about a
It
number.
does every time. I was getting ready to talk about the 147 today before I even started talking about it. I had 147 in the chat, and now we're talking about 201, and that's the number sitting on my screen. Does
They do
anyone
it
else
on
see that?
purpose. Yeah,
Does
they do
anyone
it on
else see that
purpose.
in the chat? I'm just trying to see how many people see that number also. Like, but yeah, you're right. It happens to me every time. Like almost every stream, man.
I know I'll be looking at your chat and then you'll just say it. You're like, I have this many in the chat right now. I'm like, Jesus.
Yeah, I mean, if you go back and watch my streams and see how many times that's happened, it's pretty remarkable how that happens all the time. At this point, I think we become a bit desensitized to it because we just got used to it. But at the end of the day, it's pretty wild. So now it says 190. Good.
That's another thing. You have that pulled up, inauguration of the president of the United States, 201, and then it's on January 20th, like 20/1, 201.
Yep, that's what I was getting ready to tell Autotron is, the presidential inauguration every year is on the date 20/1 in most of the world, like 201, and the official title of that day, inauguration of the president of the United States, equals 201. And that's 201 days after the nation's birthday every year too. So that just shows you how the 201 is perfectly placed into the United States, because again, if you go from July 4th to inauguration day, it's 201 days, and the date is 201. It's just crazy.
I'm researching that 201. I'm trying. As you're talking, I'm literally like doing what my computer's screwing up on me. But yeah, like I'm interested. I think it is super important, and a lot of people don't really respect and understand it. Like, and understand that each and every one of us are psychic. Like you think you manifest. Well, how about what if you were just psychic and you just saw that stuff happening? Like, oh, you thought you manifested it. Oh, look.
Yeah, there's definitely something way more to it than what we understand. That's for sure.
I feel like these numbers kind of like, maybe why they use them is because they're kind of like indirectly tied to like something we won't understand is like energy, and maybe on a really, micro scale, we can feel that energy, and maybe that's why we can feel certain things. So I don't know. That's a huge conversation to have, but
yeah. And speaking of that, I think I'm going to start wrapping it up, guys. I mean, I didn't plan to go this long, but it's actually really awesome to have you two on here. These are some new faces, new voices for people to hear from, and yeah, let's have you guys on again. Actually, if you guys want to join, I'm planning on having a decoders roundtable soon, and Numbers Weaving Reality. I know you started your channel and you're doing decoding now, and so, guy, if you have your link, make sure you leave that link in the chat so that people can follow your channel. And one thing I will say about you is you have a great speaking voice. You speak very clearly. You speak very well, and the way you produce your videos with the slight music in the background and the graphic you have, it's just really good. I think we.
Yeah, I mean, from watching everybody, for years, I think you get like a good of what you're like, this is what I would do. But I mean, is it to the level of everyone else? I don't think so, because I am just starting out. And it's really weird when you're like, I'm watching your videos and I'm like, wow, that's, it's exactly where I would have went, or the other decoders. And, you make really good connections, in little notes. But it's funny because when you go to actually like presenting, or like, I need to make a video, it's so weird. It's like you lose that little, like, so maybe I just have to get used to it, because in my head I'm like, oh, I'm gonna present this, so, and then you kind of lose focus. And so yeah, it's definitely weird, But yeah, thanks.
I mean, you really remind me of where I was when I first started. I just wanting to put some information out there. I was excited to share something and just trying to figure out how it goes. It's kind of just to be honest with you, I mean, it just kind of happens naturally over time, especially if you just stay consistent.
Yeah.
The one thing that I think happens in this community is people they don't post consistently, and then you end up losing your following if you don't post consistently. It's not because they don't like you. It's because like almost actually it might be because YouTube puts if you don't post for a while and you just come back and start posting, your videos might not get put in their feed as often, or people just might just not just have forgotten about you and just don't look for you anymore. So
Yeah.
that's one thing that I've noticed for a couple decoders recently is people stop posting and then you lose that consistency and then your views just drop. I mean, I've seen plenty of people just completely their views will just drop off because that consistency just isn't there. And what I've noticed is if I stay consistent and just show up every day, even if I don't want to, it's kind of like going to work, right? Even if you don't want to show up every day and do your job, but I look at this as my job right now. So I guess that's why I treat it like that. But if you show up and you're there every day, even if my decodes are sucky sometimes and I do horrible jobs, which I do sometimes, as long as I show up and I'm here with the community and we're here together, people won't forget about you, and people will keep coming to the channel. And I love this community, to be honest. So to me, it's like family, and
Yeah.
that's just kind of how it is to me.
I think you're right because sorry, did you want to?
No, go ahead.
Chiming in saying absolutely right. I believe in that connectivity. The whole community is big. It's a big representation of how we put ourselves out there. So go ahead, sir.
I'll just be quick because I know you got to get going and I do too. But I was gonna say, like when you first started, I really liked where you were coming from and you were talking about cryptocurrency, and I'm not all just about that. I'm about pretty much on the same page as you of what you look at. And I remember there would be a few days where you wouldn't post and I'd be looking. I'm like, come on, because I like the way your views on things and what you would look up. So yeah, and then once you started being more consistent, yeah, every day you're just in there, you pop up YouTube and you're like, okay, there's Cody, I gotta check that video out, and this, and then so yeah, it's definitely a thing about being consistent.
Yeah, and I think consistency is something that's, some people get tired of doing the same thing over. And in me, I'm one of those, to be honest with you, it's very surprising that I've been this, but when it's something that I enjoy doing, it's easy for me to be consistent. But I also one of those people that's very spontaneous and I'll just do random things, but I also have this very consistent part of me, and I love this channel. I love this community. So for me, it's not even hard. It's something I enjoy doing. And
yeah,
like, it's just nice to have a video up at least every I like to get a video at least every 1 to 3 days. That way, even if it's not the greatest video and it's not the longest or best, it's just something to remind people that I'm thinking of them. I just want to share something with them, and because it's not just a one-way street here. I get a lot from you guys for watching and your energy and the love you guys give, and I hope you guys get a lot in return from me. Because really what I do this for is to share with you guys and to share something with you guys.
Yeah, and to further learn and embed everything that we're learning in our head so we can remember and build on top of that instead of just staying very basic. There's a lot of things by heart already. So when you're doing a decode, you already know, you know what I mean?
Right.
So you just keep growing and growing and growing.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's growing together and just it's learning is fun. I mean, you make learning fun and you can learn together. It's fun. It's better than playing video games together.
Point of interest here. Let's use Robert's Rules of Order for just a quick second, just to bring about a point of interest for this guy. So the host of the show, have you ever heard of the Monograph channel on YouTube? Monograph.
I have, yes, but I have not watched that, but I will look at that.
Okay. So yeah, like he does a lot of stuff with the numerology and the timing of everything too. I think you might like it. So like, you should definitely
If you haven't checked it
You
out
know what?
already.
I've heard that channel many times. It just never. I always forget to look it up. But I'm making a note right now in my back office to check it out. So,
Nah, that's cool. Awesome.
but yeah, any final words from you two? Any final things you want to say to leave us off, and then we'll wrap it up.
I mean, if you one thing for me would be basically that like one is a really important number, and that when you just go with gratitude, like you can like accomplish a lot. You know.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
that's all right, man. Thank you for
that's
the
a good
time.
one. Thanks, man. I appreciate you coming on, and we'll have you on again if you want to jump on another stream sometime. So I appreciate you, and thanks for watching. Thanks for commenting. Thanks for joining.
I'm gonna mute my mic real quick so I can hang on for the rest of the show. Thank you so much.
All right, man. Thanks. All right, man. How about what's your real name? Numbers?
My real like government
Yeah.
name.
Yeah, like just your first name. Like, so I have a. I mean,
Yeah.
I can call you Numbers, but I
Yeah,
was thinking.
yeah.
Of you.
I was thinking that. So my real name is Ivan. So I'll put that
Ivan,
next time on the screen since everyone knows now.
Well, you can put the name of your channel so people can find it, but I just wanted to know you by name so I can at least. So I'm not. It just feel like calling you Numbers. Just.
Yeah, it was a little weird.
Yeah.
But no,
So,
yeah, my real first name is Ivan, so we could do that.
Okay, Ivan. All right.
You feel people calling me Auditron?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to give your name too, Auditron is not. I'm sure that's not your real name.
Saying it is a cool name though. I mean, Auditron must be so acceptable. But
Auditron
yeah, no,
is a cool name. Yeah, it is a cool name.
It's like a transformer.
But yeah, I mean,
All right.
you call me Audi or whatever. Like, this YouTube thing it's not so personal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's why I just said your first name. You don't have to give your whole name or nothing. But if you don't want to give your first name, I'll just call you Audi. Yeah, Audi. I live in the area of Audi, the car company. So
Right on. I mean, aliases are weak. I mean, you can call me Jerry, Jeremiah. It doesn't matter. The point is I'm just transparent with it. So like, just like our other friend. So.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right, guys. Well, thanks for joining on. And if that's all you guys got to say, anything else you got to say, Ivan? Or
No, I just want to say keep doing what you're doing. I like it. I like how you're the style you do and the way you approach it. That's why I've been following since day one, pretty much. And yeah, whenever you guys have a round table, if I'm able to join, I'll join. Just let me know somehow.
all right, sounds good. I'll definitely love to have you on there, and make sure we'll try to get you some more subs and yeah. So thanks for joining, man, and I guess we'll wrap it up.
All right, thanks.
Yeah, man. Take care.
You too.
And yeah, thanks to all the people in the chat. Also, thanks to Ivan and Jeremiah for joining. And yeah, I think that's a good place to end it. Thank you, Dr. Savage. Thank you, Casey Jones. I see Casey Jones is in the chat. Another one of my buddies. And Dirk, hello. But yeah, guys, I'm going to wrap it up. Have a good night out there. Thanks for hitting the like buttons, and thanks for all you guys do. And we'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.